In today's complicated and highly regulated business environment, companies need a solid regulatory strategy. The regulatory strategy is a blueprint for how a firm will adhere to the rules and laws that control its business. Developing a regulatory strategy involves recognizing possible risks and creating countermeasures to those risks. The regulatory strategy also involves maintaining regulatory compliance and fostering a compliance culture inside the firm. This article will cover all that you need to know about regulatory strategy. Prerequisites for developing a regulatory strategy. The following are some requirements for creating a regulatory strategy. 1. Recognizing the regulatory environment. It's critical to comprehend the regulations that are relevant to your product or service. Part of this involves understanding the regulatory structure, rules, and requirements that you must adhere to in order to receive regulatory clearance. 2. Product or service knowledge. To create a successful regulatory strategy, you require a detailed grasp of the product or service. Knowing the product's intended application, target market, and potential dangers and advantages is part of this. 3. Regulatory knowledge. Regulatory knowledge is essential for managing the challenging regulatory environment. It's crucial to have a team with the required regulatory experience, including legal counsel and regulatory affairs professionals. 4. Identification of potential regulatory obstacles. In order to create a plan to get around them, it is crucial to identify potential regulatory obstacles as early in the process as possible. Understanding possible difficulties with product development, clinical testing, and regulatory filings falls under this category. 5. Communication plan. To guarantee that you inform all stakeholders about the regulatory policy and its development, you need an efficient communication strategy. Communication with regulatory bodies, investors, and other significant stakeholders is part of this. 6. Budget and resources. Developing a regulatory plan calls for an acceptable budget. It also requires resource allocation to ensure that all required procedures are done to get regulatory clearance. Steps for developing a regulatory strategy. Below, we discuss all the steps for developing a regulatory strategy. Identify relevant regulations. Finding the rules that relate to your organization is the first step in creating a regulatory plan. Federal, state, and local rules and regulations may be included in this. For instance, if you work in the healthcare sector, you might have to abide by HIPAA, FDA, and OSHA rules. If you work in the financial services sector, you might have to abide by SEC, FINRA, and CFTC rules. Assess regulatory risk. After identifying the pertinent regulations, assessing regulatory risk comes next. The danger of not complying with the relevant regulations is known as regulatory risk. Therefore, it is crucial to recognize possible risks and assess their possibility and potential effects on the company. To do this, it entails looking into present practices, rules, and procedures to find areas of non-compliance and evaluating how it might affect the company's operations. Moreover, prioritizing risks according to how they could affect the company's operations is essential. Develop a compliance program. The next stage is to create a compliance program after you have determined the pertinent legislation and evaluated regulatory risk. A compliance program is a collection of guidelines, processes, and checks. The purpose of the compliance program is to make sure a business complies with all relevant rules and laws. To guarantee efficacy, you should routinely evaluate the compliance program. You should also revise the compliance program to reflect the unique risks that you have identified. Establish a culture of compliance. Establishing a compliance culture inside the firm is crucial, too. This entails fostering a culture in which compliance is everyone's responsibility and is treated as a top priority. This entails regularly educating and training staff on regulatory obligations. It also involves ensuring that they appreciate the value of compliance. Additionally, it involves putting in place a procedure for reporting possible compliance problems. Role of quality management software for developing a regulatory strategy. Using quality management software, QMS, effectively may help a business create a regulatory plan. Firstly, QMS systems may aid in ensuring that a business goods and services are of a high caliber and satisfy consumers' wants, as well as the regulatory requirements of the sector. In addition, companies may manage the procedure for submitting regulatory filings and supporting paperwork to regulatory agencies with the use of QMS. This might entail monitoring the progress of submissions, making sure that all required supporting materials are included, and ensuring that submissions are done on time. Furthermore, QMS can assist businesses in tracking their long-term regulatory compliance. By monitoring key performance indicators, KPIs, pertaining to quality and legal compliance, businesses can pinpoint areas that need improvement. You can use this data to create a comprehensive regulatory plan that addresses areas of non-compliance and identifies opportunities for improvement. Ultimately, the function of quality management software in creating a regulatory plan is to assist in making sure that a company's goods and services are of high quality and satisfy client expectations while also meeting regulatory criteria. By prioritizing regulatory compliance and utilizing QMS effectively, businesses can maintain a competitive edge in the market while avoiding costly legal repercussions. In conclusion, all corporate operations must have a regulatory plan. It entails locating pertinent rules, evaluating regulatory risk, creating a compliance program, and fostering a compliance culture inside the company. A thoughtful regulatory plan may reduce regulatory risk, safeguard the business brand, and guarantee long success. Companies may create a strong regulatory strategy that will aid them in navigating the complicated and dynamic regulatory landscape by using the strategies indicated in this article.